Thank you so much for being here. Let me introduce Preeti Agarwal. Preeti has 16 years of technical leadership delivering high performing mobile applications and is passionate about mentoring and training globally and open to new experiences, proven ability to take risks and transform self learning into success. And today, she will present Guide to Efficient Development with Design Systems. Pretty, the floor is yours.
Hey guys, how are you all doing? I'm sure everyone is very excited, and have been attending all the sessions. The previous sessions are all so awesome, so much to learn. And for the next 35 minutes, I'll be with you, trying to explore on design systems in depth. Losers have already given quite good intro about me, so I'll not repeat all that information again. Before we actually start on the topic, I want to know how many developers and designers do we have today? And I'm assuming most of us are from the development and design background as well here. And I would like to understand my audience before I start my talk, actually. So, yes, design systems are actually important, especially for developers who've been involved in the front end, be it your mobile, tablet, or web, and for designers as well. So, yeah, good to see that we have developers and designers today. So, I have a great audience, and this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. But before I start, let me tell you that I will not be doing a technical talk, typical one, but I would be instead telling you a story of a team of developers, a team of product developers who have been developing, products under the same roof. So, without any further delay, yeah, let's start. Let's buckle up for the story. If I see this, I'm certain that we all can relate to the scenario in this image within our world of product development. Now, imagine a collection of teams collaborating towards a common objective, each employing their unique methods and using different tools. So, we all know this popular saying, too many cooks spoil the broth. So, this is a widespread issue in the industry when multiple teams contribute to a shared goal and each team possesses its individual approach. So, there's no absolute right or wrong related to it, yet, sometimes the outcome may not meet our expectations. So what does happen? What goes wrong? What happens, when the teams are the pieces are joined together, and when we see a bigger picture? So these are kind of questions, which usually arise in our day-to-day work, especially with front end, when different teams are working on different pieces of front end and we collaborate on those front end stuff together. There's something that we really need to work on. And having gained experience in both small sized developing small sized products and enterprise products, I've come to realize that successful collaboration among teams is like preparing a dish with multiple chefs. And that's why I use this image, because working with multiple teams requires multitude of processes and discipline. And that is where I have used this image. So while I would not be delving into every single process, but I would emphasize on one crucial aspect of all these disciplines is the front end design and implementation. So my story revolves around this vast realm of products where a talented group of teams, including both for mobile and web experts, are working on a collective journey towards a shared goal. The teams which are portrayed in this narrative are putting in all their dedication and immense effort every single day. Now, driven by shared commitment to excellence, these teams do try to get the best possible outcome. Now, individually, they implemented their respective products, be it mobile or web or on tablet, infusing them in their own unique styles. And on delivery, they experienced profound sense of fulfillment and pride. However, their joy is soon turned into dismay as they discover that the users were not as pleased as they anticipated. Now, why is that the users are not pleased? Because the interface that they have for mobile and web and tablets are not consistent. They experience visual inconsistency in their in the same product, product and on different platforms. And that visual inconsistency is something that they get from sometimes I would say confused with, because the learning curve of the user increases. They have to understand multiple interfaces to be able to use that product on multiple platforms, right? So undoubtedly there's a negative impact on the brand as well. There's a negative impact on your customer experience as well. But I would not get into all those perspectives. And consequently the teams were compelled, the teams were you know the teams had to put extra time to get their visual consistencies among all the products, and then they had to put their products to the user. The product is now boasted of enhanced appearance and showcasing team triumph, but then they have to put that effort, right? And this is what is the usual problem that we have when we work on multiple teams and multiple products. And that is when the team of developers who were working, who were very proud of their development, they thought that, because of this change, because of this inconsistency, we are spending time on, you know getting the visual consistency across products. It's time for a new strategy now. And one fateful day, as the team was celebrating the remarkable accomplishment on the product, on this product visual consistency that they achieved, their product owner unexpectedly exposed a desire to alter the theme. Now they had a change of heart concerning the colors and typography. Now the team's joy was abruptly cut short. Instantly, the team rallied to accommodate this request. They embarked on the task of implementing the new colors throughout the range of products. Now, countless hours were spent in executing these modifications, but eventually they managed to present the product with the redesigned aesthetics. Now, however, after achieving visual consistency across the products, they had to repeat that once again, because the team found themselves investing additional effort in revising each individual product to ensure the visual consistency across the products. Yet the question was same: what if there was a question, what if there is a subsequent changes in the future? What if there is again a change of mind? What if there is, now it was just a UI change related to visual typography, but what if there is a change again? How would they even manage that change? And that is what led to the thought of, it's time for a new strategy. But they have had no clarity as to how they're going to achieve it. Consequently, what happened? The teams recognized the urgency, and because of that urgency, they came on for an open dialogue among themselves and started brainstorming on how to address this issue. Now, during these discussions, a concept of style guide emerged as a potential solution. Now, what style guide is, it serves as a central repository for colors and fonts and logos and other brand specific visual attributes that are utilized in a product design. So it is a valuable resource often used by designers and marketing specialists. But then they found that this could be, a shared a central style guide repository could be a potential solution to the problem that they're trying to address. Now, the idea was to establish a shared design pattern across all the products. Now, the teams found great pride in this achievement. What they did was they put a central repository, they implemented a repository where all the style guide were stored. Now, the style guide is stored at the central repository, and they were very happy that, the styling is put all at one place. Now, every product will have the styling at one place, and things will happen. But but what about the component level changes? The changes in their respective products, like if there is a change in a button, the rounded corners or the elevation, etc. If there's change in a form, if there's change in a model, what about these component level changes? The modification in one product necessitated adjustments in all other products. Whenever there was a change made to any one product, the need for consistency mandated updates across the entire product range. Although the process became somewhat streamlined, only in terms of styling though, the overall procedure still was tedious and time consuming, because they still had to manage their component level changes at the products, across the products. So still the anticipated swift time to market was not fully achieved. The team had recognized the necessity for a comprehensive and an all encompassing solution where they could address every aspect of this challenge, right? But just giving a break into the story and putting my thought on one of the things that I notice is, you know uh, if you see a small company, or a company, not small or big, but a company which builds product which are short interval product, in short intervals, like a mobile application they publish on their stuff. This is not a not very long term products. So these companies actually don't need a design system. These companies, if they have a style guide like the team implemented in the story, it is enough for them. Design system in this scenario of a company which develops small interval products would be an overhead, because each product is unique, of different domains and different products, and they are not related to any other product in their portfolio, right? So if you're a small company who is delivering small intervals products or digital product, be it web or mobile, and you're not a enterprise, company who are building same brand product across different platforms which are vast and which are huge, then you don't need a design system. Now coming back to our story, I'll go to next slide. Okay. So what does this team do? They thought, okay, now we need something more than a style guide. Style guide also did not work for us. Now what did they do? They sat again for a brainstorming open dialogue session, and this time little more structured and organized approach, collaborative approach. And they thought that this is something, not just related to us, but we also need our design team to work with us. And hence they all sat together for on a brainstorming, and then rather than immediately deciding on what specific solution or approach they should look for, they began listing down the issues and concerns that they wish to address. Now what they did is they drifted real life scenarios to get deeper understanding of the problem. Now as they went on with this process of crafting the scenarios, finding solutions and brainstorming, etc., they noticed an emerging pattern. Now, they discovered that every product exhibited not only consistent styling, but there was similar component and interaction pattern as well. Like buttons and modals and page layout, they all demonstrated high level of consistency across the products. Now, this realization is what sparked the idea of defining a comprehensive design system. Now, they acknowledge that they need something like this, which addresses these issues as well. They noticed a pattern, so they had an idea what they wanted. So they started jotting down what all they need in their design system, like the components in a design system. And as you can see on the screen, they listed these eight elements that they need in the design system, starting with design principles, which is core principle and values that guide your designers to decide on how your system should behave and take decisions on the design. Then they also said that we need a visual style, like what set of colors or typography or iconography, spacing and other visual elements that will establish the visual identity of the product. We need that element as a separate element. Then as they already experienced the component, they listed the components as well, that we also need, there's a pattern of same components being repeated across the products. So we can have components also in our design system, because they are repeated, we can make it as a reusable central repository of components and UI elements, like your buttons and navigation menu cards and all that. Then they also said, okay, these are the components. Now if you get into little complex layout and all that, they also need layout grids. Now grid system and layout guidelines are something that will establish consistent spacing and alignment and etc in the screens, and the animation micro interactions, they need to take care of that as well. So apart from components, they also listed layout grids and all that. Now when they went little more deep, they thought, okay, interaction patterns are also one more thing which we need to take care of. And the best the what are interaction patterns is just how the users interact with the product, how the animations and transitions and micro interactions go into the product as we navigate into the product. So yeah, interaction pattern became one of their element. And so on, they went with guidelines and documentations, because it is important to have the guidelines of how to implement the design system, and you also need to document how to use this design system and reference to what, where is what. And then they had some accessibility considerations also. When they finished on the design and got this thing, they were very happy that, we achieved this. And then they said, no, we need to consider accessibility considerations as well, because we need to ensure that the product is addressing the need of the users with disability and compliance with accessibility standards. Now that when they moved further, they realized that design system cannot be a one time product. It is not that you develop a design system today and you forget it. No, it needs to be treated as a separate project. You need to have a team working on it consistently, you need to maintain it, you need to have proper governance, and that's why they added an element of collaboration and governance as well. So these are the different elements that we have in our design system, and this is what the team came up with. Now the team was very happy with their achievements so far, and they wanted to that now they were ready to define what is a design system. Next slide, please. Now, as they moved ahead, they were very proudly designing the design system, as you can see on the screen. Now, if I define the same, design system is a collection of reusable components, patterns, guidelines, and assets that work together to create more complex design, a uniform, consistent user experience across the products in an organization, or it provides a set of rules, it provides a set of standards, and to design and develop your digital products. So this is what is your design system on the whole. Now, getting a little bit technical and taking a break in the story, getting a little bit technical on design system, there are a lot of benefits that we see when we use our design system. Now, few of the benefits that, as I've listed on the screen, are consistency and branding. As we already know why we need design system from our previous story, is because there are visual inconsistencies, because of which the brand gets affected, the user loses trust in this brand, they move on to another brand, etc. So the consistency and branding is taken care by the design system. They establish a consistent visual language. They gain the trust of their users, because the learning curve of the user comes down, and they're happy with the product, they improve the usability. They save your time and cost, the time and cost saving, because when you have a design system, you're reusing everything in your design. You don't have to go and develop them. I'll explain why you don't have to develop that, but then you don't have to develop those pieces of UI, reusable UI components. You just have to plug in into your product, and you see everything coming into place. So definitely reducing the time of development, time to get these things, reducing the time to, the time which you used to spend on regaining the visual consistency, you're eliminating that time, and that's why you're saving the cost as well. It also encourages collaboration and communication, because design system work on designing their UI components, then developers work on their, ensuring that elements are there, and they both collaborate together to make sure that they take feedback, they give feedback, and then they ensure that the design system they want meets all the technical requirements also, and meets their design principles as well, from the designer side and from the developer side. So it encourages better collaboration and communication. Now, scalability and flexibility is another aspect of benefits that I see. Is it allows your mobile to it enables your application, be it mobile or web or anything else, it like tablet or something, to be more scalable and more flexible. Any change you have now, now with this elements and system in place, if I ask you to make any change in color or theme or icon or something, you just change in your design system, and all the products have that by default. You don't need not struggle to put that into different products separately. Now you have your improved user experience as well, because there is visual consistency. The product will look same across the platforms. Now imagine Meta, or okay, Meta having different interfaces or different visual design or navigation or interaction patterns on web and mobile. You had to learn two applications. You had to understand two places where there is different navigation on web, different navigation on mobile, different look and feel. You don't know what is going on there, you don't know what is going on here. I mean, you, over the time, you get irritated that these both systems are so different, though they are the same platform, right? So that improved user experience and the onboarding and training, because design system simplifies your onboarding experience. Whenever there is a new member coming up in the team, they don't have to understand your development style. In fact, they need to understand the design system on the whole, and then they just need to understand the processes. So it's very easy. The onboarding and training part with the design system in place is very easy. Now that I've given you all the benefits, I'm sure everyone wants to know how to create a design system. What are the steps actually that you put in to create a design system? So if you see the I have put it in a circle, because as I said, design system is an iterative activity. It's not a one time implementation, and you can go ahead and not do it later. But it has to be iterative and consistent and ongoing process. So, what do you do? First is you define your goals and scope as to what do you want to achieve out of this design system. What should be the scope of this design system? You determine what are your objectives with this design system, what problem you're trying to solve, and what platform, what design scope you want to include. Like, you want to consider the platforms like mobile and web alone, or you want to add more to it. So, specific components and patterns that you want to include. And once you are defined your goals and your scope, then you go ahead and research and analyze on how do you want to actually conduct research on what domains you want to address, or what is your app domain, or what is your app platform, so that you can design it accordingly. Like, I cannot have, if I have a banking application, I cannot make it in a rainbow color, right? I need to be make it very professional. So I need to understand, research, and analyze what kind of domain I'm making my application for. And I need to analyze the current design assets also. I'll see what are the standard, what can be standardized, what can be reused among my products. So I need to do this research and analysis first. Then once I do this research and I'm clear with my goals and scope, I analyze what I want, I will move on to establishing my design principles. Now I'll set the design principles that will align with my product goals and with my brand. Now, if my brand has a blue logo and they follow white and blue like Salesforce, I cannot go and create the web content in red and orange. It would not match, right? So I need to make sure that my design principles take care of my brand, my product goals, and these principles will help me in decision making, making decisions throughout the design system creation. So this is what I need to make sure, that I establish my design principles first, as to what is that I need to take care of while I get into my visual creating my visual design elements. So next step, what I'll do is I'll create my visual design elements. Now here, what is to be done is you develop a consistent visual language. That is, you define a consistent color, a color palette, a typography, your spacing, your iconography, and etc. Whatever visual elements that you have, you ensure that they all meet your accessible needs, and they meet your quality standards or usability standards, and you create all those visual elements that are shared across in your design system. Now, once you're done, this is all related to your design part. If you have observed, this is all related to your design part, and designer will do all these things with along with the developer, or with sometimes with the alone, like designing, creating visual elements, etc. Yes, absolutely right, Gracia. It's a team effort. And once you have these visuals created, what do? You build a component library. Now, what is meant by component library? It is a pure coding side. Like, you code your, like, you have, suppose say you have a button, you have a form, you have a modal, you have a few text inputs, etc. So what you do, you go ahead and code those components in your component library. You write the code for it, you write the styles for that, you document each component on how to use it in your project, what variations you have, what behavior they would show. Like say, for if I take a simple text, when I in my application I have heading text, I have body, I have a label, I have header and footer. So one text element as having so many variants, a header, a footer, a headline, a label, and etc., a body text and all. So definitely I need to explain in my documentation, I need to code all these variants, I need to code all these behaviors and style guides and etc. And what I do is I document them as I go ahead and create all this, to see how the developers can use it further in their products. And I need to make sure that these design elements are responsive, variants, they are responsive and they cater to different screen sizes, which is very, very important. Now once I'm done with my component library, where my reusable components are ready to for the developers to plug in and use in their product development, or for the designers to take reference and start designing, I would document the guidelines. Now because I have been using this documentation everywhere, I will like, why documentation is important? Because you're building a design system, it's important for developers to know how to plug this in into their product. And it is also important for designers to know how to use these visual elements in their design, right? So documentation in the overall process is very important. And they also provide the code snippets and for developers, which are examples of how to use them and how to implement them. Okay, then what you do, as I said, it is an ongoing process. You have to test and iterate. You keep testing your design system, it is working fine, the usability is fine. You gather feedback from designers, from developers, from users, from your other stakeholders. You identify the areas of improvement, you keep iterating all the throughout the process. So you need to remain open for feedback. And as your system changes, you have to make sure that you iterate and keep this as an ongoing process. And since it is an ongoing process, the last step which is there, establish governance and maintenance, you need to have a strict process of how are you going to maintain this. You need to have you need to have strict governance, and you need to keep maintaining this as you go. Now why do you need to have governance? Is to model your design system, to develop a governance model for your design system, to ensure that the ongoing maintenance and evolution is happening. You have to assign roles and responsibilities, and you have to keep yourself updated with your latest develop trend in the design patterns. You have to address all the issues that are coming up. Like say for example, had it been 2018 for mobile, I would have never thought I would need theme in my mobile application, a dark theme or light theme. I would do my styling only for style guide for only for typography or other stuff. But as I'm moving ahead, there's a trend coming on, that you have this uh, theme that has come new in the design trend. Now I have to go and accommodate that as well. I need to code that, I need how do I use my themes, and the designers also need to make sure that they have different elements for dark theme and light theme. So you have to make this as an ongoing process. I hope it's clear so far, but yes, we have a Q&A session. I would definitely address it there. Okay. Now since we know that we have uh, we know what is a design system, we know how to create it, we know the benefits of it. But just creating, knowing how to create without following best practices, is a little risky. And if you follow the best practices, your journey becomes very easy as you in the long run. So certainly there are few best practices that I could list here out of my experience. Is establishing a clear documentation. Again, you know why now you know why documentation is important. And hence I would just say establish clear documentation. You need to collaborate consistently between the designers and developers. Collaboration between it's very important. Again, you know why. Creating reusable components, of course, that is design system is all about. So you make sure you keep your eyes open to observe the pattern, to observe what can be put into in that bucket of reusable component. You maintain the consistency, to maintain the consistency. Then we use version control. Version control is for your design system to track the changes, to manage the updates, to ensure seamless collaboration among team members. Since it is also treated as a separate project and ongoing in long run, you need to have a version control. And you regularly test and refine. Again, from our iterative cycle, test and iterate, it's the same thing. You need to do it regularly and stay up to date with the current industry trends. because if you're not updated with the industry trends, then your design system is not updated. So it is always best to stay updated with your current industry trends. You train and educate your team members as and when you have time, consistently, repeatedly. Make sure all the team members are educated on how to use the system and how to how the documentation works, how to plug in, etc. Now I come back to my story, that the team did all these that I have told you so far about design systems, and they were so happy. The team was very happy. The users were very happy because at last they achieved what they wanted, and their typical flow of developing product did not look like what they had earlier. Now they start same like previous. They start with understanding the requirements, but instead of just jumping directly on prototyping or wireframe or development, they consult the design system first to understand what kind of design elements and what kind of things they need to follow while they do the wireframe or prototyping, and what their features do they need to develop again, or what reusable components they can use from the design system and all that. So definitely this flow is more effective than a one which is without design system. And this is, as I reiterate on what I said earlier, that these kind of systems are really really important on enterprise level products where you have multiple products under the same roof. Like you have you have a Salesforce, or you have Oracle, you have a lot of other companies. They all use design systems to maintain consistency across products. So as someone was asking, what are the tools in the market that that are available to implement design system? Yes, you need not do all this from the scratch. The reason I did not give the tools initially is for you all to understand the concept, the core concept, and the need for design system. But after you understand that, yes, you need not do everything from the scratch. You can eliminate all those and get a ready-made framework. And there are tools that in the market that help you implement that, like Storybook, Bit, Pattern Lab, or React Sketch app, or Figma. There are a lot of other tools as well, but I've just taken reference of few of them, and definitely you can use them to understand how to actually go ahead and implement a design system. And to summarize, what we have done, what we have understood out of the story that we discussed and the technical stuff that we discussed, we understood the need for design system. We discovered the elements inside the design system, the meaning and steps to create one, the benefits and best practices, then the tools that are available, and the typical flow of a design system in place. Like you don't have to go straight away to the development or understand after requirements. You go to design system first before you actually jump into designing or developing. So now, yeah, this is all I had on design systems. Now I will go to next slide, and I would open the stage for Q&A. So yes, your questions are most welcome, please.
Hi, so we have a question in from Patricia. Patricia asked, what tools do you like to use for the documentation?
Um, well, if I'm using a ready-made tool in the market like Storybook, they do the documentation for you, and you need not worry about documentation in that case. So yeah, it depends on how you're doing it and what kind of system you're implementing. If I'm using if I'm implementing the system from the scratch, then yeah, I would include my documentation in the version. But if there is a documentation tool specifically for this, is what you're asking, right? Yeah. So as I said, if you're using anything like a Storybook, they have, but there are a lot of documentation tools which are available. There is this Farmer X, I guess. It is a strong tool. Then there is something called Zero Height, and Notion. There are different lot of tools actually. But yeah, the few which I have used is Storybook, and I have used this Farmer X as well. So these two tools are something which I'm really aware of.
Perfect. Thank you, Preeti. We have another question in from Chantal. Um, how would you approach a multi-platform design system?
Okay. A multi-platform design system, as in okay, I'll take an example of mobile and web, if that is fine. You can give me a thumbs up if you know this is what you're looking for, Chantal. if you're approaching for a multi-platform design system, like for mobile and for web, you have different platforms. Definitely you have to define your scope. As I said, you have to establish your design principles, etc. But if you're having a mobile and web, this thing, you also have the components which are repeated. Like, say, if I'm using React Native for my mobile, I'm using React for web, definitely my components can be used across this both of the platforms. And if I'm using this kind of platform, then I need to make sure that the component library is created in a way that it is used in both the sides. So definitely the steps which I've mentioned, I guess already covered how do I approach to uh, getting a multi-platform design system. And I think this design system needs to be multi-platform, because if, as I said, if I have only one product which is not very complex, then design system would be an heads up overhead for me.
Perfect, thank you. And then we have a question here from Helen. Design system is more on the task on the project management side, business analyst or UI designer?
um that's a great question, but great question. And more task on project management side, no, I would not consider it as a task more on project management side. See, as I told you, design system can be treated as a separate project. You definitely need a system in place. You definitely need the same processes as you follow for your project. You need sprints, you need your development methods, etc. But then, yeah, this is not an overhead, not the task only for management side or analyst, or only UI designer. It is a collaborative task for both developers, because developers, however, have to write the entire component library and document them. Designer has to design the component library and document that. Now the project management and all come into picture when they want to oversee the entire process is taking place the way it should take place. So yes, it is not just a more task on product management side, it is a equal distributed task across the teams.
Perfect, that was a great question. And we have one last one from City. Can you share a bit on the updated industry trends at the moment? That's a good question.
Industry trends on design. I'm assuming that your question is on design. So you're with respect to design, the current trends, as far as I know, I'm from a developer background, development tech background though. But your your design should be responsive. And it should have themes, the light and dark mode. It can have voice user interfaces, and the micro interactions are something which are trending. Then the data visualization and infographics are something that I would really want to have in my design. Then I would go for things. If I could include something related to AR VR, I would include that. And design systems, of course, it's also a trend in the design component libraries, etc., which we have spoken about. And minimalized and simplified user interfaces is something that we look for, I think, right now in current trend, because they don't like messy and too much stuffed interfaces. And design collaboration and remote work, yes, these are the few of the current trends that I can say is necessary at the moment. So yeah, it was really nice having such great audiences and having this talk. I'm sure that we have learned a lot here today. And thank you so much for being here, and thank you for hearing me out. And you can feel free to connect me on over LinkedIn for anything further. And I would be happy to take up a discussion if anyone wants to take it further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you. That was a fantastic talk. Have a lovely day.